Hey, Viva Lifers. I am Dr. Kelly OMD, your board certified OBGYN and healthcare executive, here to help you live your healthiest and wealthiest life. And you have landed in Ask Dr. Kelly OMD, where we bring on subject matter experts to our Zoom room so that you can learn about things that are associated with our 5 pillars. So, our spiritual, physical, financial, mental, and emotional health. And tonight we are so excited to bring on a guest who is a subject matter expert but has been with us before. And her name is Kirsten Sippel-Klug. She is actually in Germany right now, so it is the middle of the night there. We are so grateful to have you on. And tonight we're going to be talking about parenting and screen time. But you know what? Honestly, it should just be screen time. Whether you're a parent, whether you're an adult, a child, or somewhere in between, it's screen time. And how do we manage our screen time so we're not addicted to it, but we utilize it for good? So, Kirsten, tell us the top 3 things that you want us to know about your subject tonight, and then we'll get started.
So the first thing I want everyone to know is that not all screen time is the same. So there is good screen time and there is dangerous screen time, or screen time that's not good for our brains, both adult brains and child brains. The second thing is that it's really important to think about, for your family having, or for yourself individually, having a digital diet. So having a diet plan for how you're going to consume digital content, have screens in front of you, and it's going to look different for every family. And so finding something that works for you is important. And then the final thing that I really want to emphasize is that that babies especially learn best through human contact, through interactions. And so they do better when there's not infants, but young children do better when there's a screen on and there's an adult in the room with them to help them make sense of it and make meaning of what they're seeing. But they, under very few circumstances, should a very small child be alone with the screen.
And you already know that I'm going to be excited about one of those things you said. So it was number 2. I know number 1, there's positive screen time and there's not positive screen time. And number 3, I think everybody does better when you actually have interaction while the screen is on. But number 2, you said a digital nutrition plan. And Viva Life is always about having a nutrition plan. So I cannot wait for us to get into 1, 2, especially, and number 3. So Viva Lifers and our guests, thank you for being here tonight. One of the things I want to say is typically allow our presenter to go ahead and present what they have, and then we can ask questions. But if you want to put those questions in the chat, or when you're ready to raise your hand, come off mute, and we'll go from there. So Kirsten, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me back again. This is a real passion of mine, this topic, because it's hard. It's hard. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with just sort of basic brain development, because that's really, there's 2 facts that I want everyone to keep in mind, and that will help you make decisions along the way for what kind of digital diet you want to have. So the first thing I want people to keep in mind is that caregiver infant or small children interactions is the foundation of brain architecture. So that's the foundation. So if that's the foundation, if the interaction that I'm having, positive or negative, is building my baby's brain, then I want it to be then I want them to have lots of interaction from a human face, from a human person. And there's lots and lots of reasons why, mainly that children learn from being responded to, and they need the adult in their life to help make meaning of what's going on around them. The second thing I want people to keep in mind is that being a good enough parent is the point. The point is not being a perfect parent. And actually, perfect parents don't do their kids any favors. This is based on research that was done in the 1970s that found that 30% of the time, parents get what their child is trying to tell them, or are having a connecting moment with their child, just 30% of the time. And 30% is literally good enough. That 70% of the time we all kind of miss it. And I'll give you an example. Let's say a baby is at the table, a toddlerish baby is at the dinner table, and he's looking at his mom's water, and his mom's like, "Why are you looking at my water?" And he's starting to fuss, and his mom's saying, "You've never had a sip of water. Why do you like?" And then the child gets more and more agitated, and the mom's like, "I don't like. What are you asking?" And then the baby loses it, and then the mom says, "Oh, I'll go get your milk for you. I'm sorry." And so we call that a rupture, that there was like a misunderstanding. And then there's a repair. So the mom's comes back and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I know what you want. Let me go get that for you." And it's just like building muscles. We build muscles because there's ruptures in the muscle fibers, and then they scar over and we get bigger muscles. And that's
Mm.
the repair part. So it's the same thing with relationships, all relationships, babies, but also children and also adult relationships. We have ruptures and then we repair, and that makes the relationship stronger. So that is all to say, nobody should be going for perfection. When if there's a misunderstanding, you just kind of regroup and repair, and your kid will be better off for it. So, before I kind of get into like what the American Academy of Pediatrics says about screen time, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows we're not going for perfection.
And I think that's so important, that whole idea of verbal and nonverbal communication, because that's really what happens when you have a younger person or maybe someone that doesn't speak the same language as you or doesn't have the same cultural background. There's verbal and nonverbal communications. And once we start understanding how people communicate bi-directionally, is what I like to say, once we understand that communication, then you don't have those ruptures or eruptions. As long as we are verbalizing verbally or non-verbally in some way that is able to sit well with people and they can feel like you heard what they said and you are reciprocating back. I think that makes such a huge difference, no matter if you're a baby or if you're an adult or you are a significantly mature adult.
Yep. 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 So let me tell you just very briefly what the American Academy of Pediatrics says for screen time. So they say that under 18 months, a child should not have any screen time. And that's hard, except for, they did say, except for video chats.
Mm.
So obviously video chats with family members is a wonderful thing for babies and very young children to do. 18 to 24 months is only high quality educational media with a parent there. Again, young children need parents to help make meaning of what's going on in the whole world, their whole day. And and the other thing with 18 to 24 months is you would want to make sure that it's not too fast, that the something like like something like the Powerpuff Girls is like it's just like way too fast for small children. So something, and I don't know if people are familiar now, but Miss Rachel is very popular for small children, and she's a live person who is singing very slowly the same songs over and over again. So they've got rhythmicity, and it's sort of no crazy surprises. And so that's something that's appropriate for 18 to 24-month-olds. 2 to 5 years, 1 hour a day, and that's when it starts to get tricky.
You see how big my eyes are getting?
I know, I know, I know. And my boys are grown, but I have been through this. I still cringe when they come home to visit and they're adults, and I'm like, "Oh, why are you upstairs for so long?"
Exactly.
Just come join us. But anyway, and then after 2 hours a day, preteens, that's when you start getting into exactly what you were talking about, Dr. Kelly. Dr. O,
It's okay,
is
Dr. Kelly. Uh-huh.
Dr. Kelly, is having conversations and having a plan and thinking
Mm.
about it well in advance, what you want that plan. And there's all sorts of strategies, things like deciding there's a certain time of the day that there won't be screens around, like dinner time is a common one or popular one. Another strategy is taking a break, like a vacation, a break from screens. I mean, I think what's a really great idea, I never managed to make it happen for my family. So I know it's a tall order, but even having kids go off to camp for a tech-free camp for a week would, is a great, because I think it's the same thing with us. When we take a break from social media and take a break from looking at our screen and always wanting to know what's going on, it feels different when you come back from that break,
It does. And I think we were talking about many of us are doing a fast with our different spiritual foundations that we have. And one of the things that happens in the fast is no social media or decrease your social media. And so you do realize, like, wow, I am spending a lot of time on here and I do feel different when I come back. So definitely.
The other thing that's interesting about that is the message that it's sending to kids, and especially very small kids. So, and I've heard it fubbing. Have you ever heard of fubbing before?
No, anybody? Write in the chat if you've heard of fubbing.
But fubbing is sort of when you're on your phone and you're sort of snubbing other people because you're not paying attention
Mhm.
to them because you're distracted with your phone.
So true.
Yeah. And I just learned about that when I was preparing for this. And so that's a problem if we're this message that the children are that anybody, an adult or a child, but the message that people around us are receiving is like, well, I have something more important to do right now. And of course, what it's natural that that's what happens because the phone pings and automatically our brain says this is really important. It's like it's inside of us. We can't stop it. It's like the tiger's growling behind me, so I have to react.
Mhm.
So the phone's pinging, I have to react. And then the important piece of that would be like, okay, I'm sorry. You were trying to tell me something, John, about what happened at school today. I'm going to put this down and let's talk about that. So another strategy is also having specific times of the day, not only to not have tech, but also to be connecting with your child or your spouse when you come home, saying, okay, after you're all settled and after I'm settled, let's sit down and talk for 10 minutes before we start dinner.
Yeah, and one of the things that we do is there's no phones or electronics at the table. And then I've actually started utilizing the the silencer on the phone that's like the mindfulness time, so you don't get any pings or anything like that because that's like Pavlov's dog, right? So as soon as you hear ping or something buzzes on your wrist, because of course our phones are attached to our wrist now, and then first thing you do is like look down, and so you've been distracted from what you were doing. So when you can't get any of those notifications, then you can stay focused on what you're trying to do as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great. There was another one I was thinking about what you just said about distractions. Oh, another thing that's important to keep in mind for young children is that having the TV running as background noise is actually really bad for them. And the reason why is that let's say they're building something with Legos and all of a sudden and they're not paying attention to the TV, but all of a sudden the commercial for their favorite show comes on and they stop and look up and check the television, what's going on, and they lose their train of thought. So that is the one way that they have found that television negatively impacts attention span in young children.
And not in just young children, but adults too. People that fall asleep with the TV on and consistently all night, your brain waves are never allowed to relax into the different levels that we need to go into sleep. So you're never really sleep. You're always awake because your brain is always listening to whatever is going on. So yeah, I think that's another great tip. Turn off the TV or whatever it is at night so that you can actually
Yeah.
listen, or excuse me, so that you can actually get rest and sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and let me see. Can you think of those are the big highlights that I wanted to capture. Can you think of any questions
Oh yeah. So Viva Lifers, go ahead and start putting those questions in the chat. You guys are really good at this. But one of the things that we talked about, the big three things that you talked about. Number one, making sure that, well, we talked about the diet. Let's talk about that digital nutrition. I don't like to say the word diet. I like to say nutrition,
Okay.
because I don't want people to diet.
I like
I want
that.
people to
I
have a
like that.
nutritional plan. So
I
this
like
digital nutrition plan, let's go into that.
Let's go with that. Okay. So a digital nutrition plan could look like kind of the things we were talking about before. Let me grab my other notes so I can see. You know what I would say? If you decide you want to come up with a digital nutrition plan, I think it's always good for any change. It's great to start off easy. Pick the low hanging fruit first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, that may be sort of like, oh, we're going to turn off the TV a half an hour before bedtime for everybody. The other thing that's really important to keep in mind is that kids do what you do. And I know that we all know that. And we've all, most of us have heard that from either our parents or just common, it's just sort of conventional wisdom that kids will do what you do. But I wanted to kind of make it like even more, hit that point home even more, which is I watched a videotape of a family, and the parent was washing their hands at the sink, and the child was washing his hands at the sink, and you could just see he was like 3 years old, and he's watching every step his mom makes. And then she's looking around for paper towels, and she can't find any. And so she just wipes, she doesn't even think about it. You can tell it's an automatic reaction. She wipes her hands on her pants. And then her son wipes his hands on his pants. And then I could picture me saying to my child, when did I ever teach you to wipe your hands on your pants, young man? Right.
I think, yeah, that is so funny because that is exactly what we do. Who taught you that? You're like, you did. I remember, and this is off subject, but it's still on subject. I remember we had, when I was younger, there was neighbors across the street, and the neighbor's little boy got sent home for cursing. And she was like, she started cursing and said, I don't know where he gets this from. And I'm thinking, you. I was like, clearly we know where he get it from. So yeah, I think role modeling is very important, and our children do role model. It makes me think about when we're driving and texting, which we shouldn't be doing, or we're like, well, I'm looking for the music station that I want to listen to, but that's distracted driving as well. And we're role modeling that, and we're teaching that as well. But as
Yeah.
far as, going back to that digital nutrition, I think we started off with, decide what time of day that you want to have digital interaction. So, like I said, during meditation time, there is no digital action, even interaction, even though a lot of times, we don't have, some of us may not have the whatever we're using to meditate. So the book, the Bible, the journal, whatever, right next to us, right? So the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you touch your phone, because that's what everything is on. So whether that be, the digital meditation, the digital journal, the digital Bible, you touch that. But also when you turn that phone on, what's there? The messages, whether it's your direct messages on WhatsApp, your Facebook messages, your Instagram messages, all of that is right there. You get to see there's 3 people waiting, something 4 people over here. I've got to check all of that. No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Everything's on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, like you were saying, we talked about utilizing the phone to give us, shut off times or going back. So one of the things I do during this fast that I'm doing is I will put on the notification, not the notification, but it'll tell me how much screen time I'm having, and I can put on set times to say, like, you've done 2 hours, you're done. And so then that actually teaches you to be within your time limits of your digital time as well. Reading books online, that's another big one. People love to read books and listen to webinars online. How do we manage that so that we don't get outside of that positive impact that that's probably having?
Yeah. 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 Those are all great suggestions and great things to think about. It's like, oh yeah, my phone has everything on it. So of course I keep looking at it. Like,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
are there other things should I think about like using like going back to paper books? At least sometimes, it's a way
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Absolutely. I've just put a paper book by my bedside, and I keep I look at the phone and I look at the paper book, and I decide which one I want to read. So yes, absolutely there as well. All righty. Now, just real quick. So you're a physical therapist by training, correct? So
Mhm,
how
correct.
have you seen, how about things like people's neck, their posture, all of that? What have you seen in regards to that?
Um, Big problems. I'll actually tell a very interesting story about how where I've seen that. Is there was a period of time that I worked in Stuttgart, Germany, at the base there, and that's a base that has a lot of people that have desk jobs. So
Mm,
they've gone from, and actually, there's couple of different special forces units there. There's a they do a so they've gone from being like out in the field and being really physically active to like 3 years sitting at a desk, and they
mm,
get all of injuries from sitting, or that they're having all sorts of back problems, different orthopedic things going on because they're sitting so much and their body's not used to it.
mm,
So that's a way I see it. The other thing that I see that worries me a lot is that children, I see it a lot with children and their posture. And I do yoga in the schools. And what I've seen is that probably about 50% of third and fourth graders can't do a cat cow move
mm.
because they don't have the movement through their core.
The flexibility.
Yep. Yep. And
Hmm.
they don't actually have like the movement that they need. Like their
Hmm.
bodies just kind of doesn't know how to move in that way. And I have this theory that 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, kids were outside climbing trees and doing all that like on rough playground equipment that they had to really, parallel bars, or we had these big rings that you were kind of like going crazy on, and you learn to move your body in a variety of ways through that heavy work, and kids don't have that anymore. And then they're spending so much time sitting, they've got tight hip flexors,
Mm.
and so yeah, so it's like both, if the kids are being impacted both in their ability to have like a wide variety of movements that their body can do, and also like just have muscle tightness, and yeah. So
No, and I think that, like you said, that's for kids, but adults as well, especially as we continue to mature in our careers. A lot of people are no longer what we call boots on the ground. So they're not running around doing all these things. They're having more administrative work, they're in offices. And yeah, we have the very desk, which is the desk that go up and down. We have the like foot pedal while we're sitting in the, sitting in our chair so that we can keep our legs moving and everything like that. But a lot of times we are in, don't have great posture. We're not moving as much as we used to. Like when I was in the clinical space as a physician, I'm getting 17,000 to 20,000 steps going back and forth, seeing patients, going up to the operating room, going down to deliver a baby, whatever the case may be. So now I have to be very intentional just to get 10 to 12,000 steps
is it
in a day. So
it's
it makes such a
incredible.
huge difference. Yeah.
It really
So
it Yeah, go ahead. That really does. It's yeah.
yeah, it makes a huge difference, and it makes a huge difference. And people are like, "Well, I don't understand why I'm gaining weight and I can't do this." And it's like because you used to get 15 to 20,000 steps in, and now you get 10. Or why is your you can see your posture where your back is bent over, your neck is over, and you wonder why you have neck pain and back pain and all these other different types of pain. It's because number one, you're not moving, and number two, you're not in the right posture for it as well. So I think all of those things, especially as a physical therapist, I'm sure that that's constantly coming into your purview as a physical therapist as well. So yeah, awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody have any questions for us tonight? Any other questions? Someone said supervised time is so important. This is great info. We're all losing flexibility. We all just need to play more. Absolutely. How so? Cat and cow. So I absolutely love the cat and cow. It's like eight exercises that I do. So the cat and cow, the Russian twist, where you're on your back and you're twisting back and forth. Any other exercises that you can think of to encourage people to counteract the screen time or the sitting time that they have?
That's a great question. I can't
So I love the bicycle. So, on your back, you have, all fours kind of in the air. And these are the exercises that I learned from like Jack LaLanne.
Yeah,
Right?
right, right.
I'm like, I've been watching my mom exercise her whole life. And I remember like Richard Simmons, Jack LaLanne, Jane
Yes,
Fonda. It's like the
yes,
same 8 exercises, right?
yes.
So getting those exercises in, so important as well. Just exercising in general. And I know a lot of people, have their ups and downs about exercising, but it's about movement. So even if you're dancing, right? So if you like to
Yes,
Zumba, you like to salsa, you
yes.
like to hip hop dance, whatever the dance is, like that's going to increase your endorphins, which is going to make you more excited. It's going to keep you away from the screen because you're like moving around. You might find a significant other, a dance partner, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
All of that helps you as
Well,
well.
and the other thing I was thinking about is walking. Walking is real, it's surprisingly very, very important.
That's
Um, it really is. And then also being able to walk, walking outside where there's green
mm.
and fresh air can really help reset some of the stuff that's going on inside your brain, of being out in the three-dimensional world.
Yeah, and I
And
think that that definitely has been a game changer for me, especially like I was saying, when you're getting in these positions where you're sitting at your desk more. So taking 3 intentional breaks a day. My first break is all about meditation because I clearly just came in from walking from my car. And if you can park farther away from where you work,
yep,
great. The other thing is, in the middle of the day, taking that time out to meditate, to journal, to get outside and walk. And I know it's cold in some places, in many places it's cold, but I will tell you, walking in the snow or walking around when there's raining outside, it truly is a beautiful experience. I've done it many times. And then towards the end of the day as well, making sure that you're getting that 5, 10 minutes out there, fresh air. And the more you can like connect with nature, so actually having your shoes off, being in the grass or on,
yeah,
on the ground, on the soil makes a huge difference. And these are all things that will keep you from being on the screen. So when you're walking, when you're exercising, one of the big things that I highly recommend is doing mindfulness exercise when you don't have a screen in front of you, when you don't have your phone in front of you, you don't have your phone on, you don't have anything going except for what is going on in your mind. You will open up your creativity, you will, reset yourself and just really have a true connection with who you are. And like I like to say, whose you are as well.
yeah, yeah. The other, I love that. I've done mindful walking before,
Mm,
which
mhm,
I loved. I really enjoyed that experience. I recently I heard exercise physiologist talking about, even if you just, when you're going up the stairs, if you just do a quick burst going up the stairs and go up as fast as you can, they
mhm.
tracked people over like 2 years, and they had them do that intervention, and that improves whatever health measures they were measuring significantly. So even if you're choosing the stairs instead of the elevator, and then when on that let's say I've got 3 flights of stairs going up to my office, the last flight I'm just going to power it out.
I
um,
love that. And you know what? Thanks for the reminder for that. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, I used to run upstairs, anything to get all your steps in, right? You walk up and down, you're in the airport, you're like, I'm about to walk up and down this 10 times so I can get my steps in before I get on this plane. So having that last burst of running through, I think that makes such a big difference. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming back, giving us some tips and tools about how to manage screen time in our busy lives, whether you're a parent, spouse, or a person that, I just need to make sure that I stay focused and not be distracted so that I can really achieve my goals spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, and emotionally. So, Kirsten, if you do you have anything parting words for us at this time?
give your know that 30% is good enough, and being a good enough parent is good for your kids, and just do the best you can in coming up with good digital nutrition.
I
um,
love that. I love that. So, forgive and you release yourself when you can't get it 100% right. None of us do. Have a great digital nutrition plan and have some time together in front of the screen so that you can actually have conversation about what's going on. I'm Dr. Kelly OMD, your board certified OBGYN and healthcare executive, here to help you live your healthiest and wealthiest life. Please follow us on all our social media channels. for a good reason. So that would be YouTube as well as Instagram and Facebook. And we also have our website, drkellyomd.com. Thank you so much for being with us. And we can't just wait to see you next time, Mondays, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget to do it. Viva Life. All right. Thank you for being a part of the Viva Life experience. I'm Dr. Kelly OMD, board certified OBGYN and healthcare executive. If you like what you heard, then please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. The reason why is because we are trying to educate, encourage, and inspire 1 million people to live their healthiest and wealthiest life. And this is what we're bringing you. We're bringing you educational videos. We're bringing you podcasts. We are bringing you webinars with subject matter experts, including myself, about the topics that affect you the most. So go ahead, like, subscribe, and share. We are everywhere. Have a wonderful day. Viva Life.